Okay, so I'm currently in Minnesota, and I actually still have to knock through two more fights here real quick. So I figured I'd probably go with the world's Power Girl versus Rogue. Now, Power Girl, survived a battle against one of the Asgardians, and Rogue actually got her way past Supergirl. So here we are in the second round. The winner of this will take on the winner of Miss Marvel, the Marvel Miss Marvel, in Wonder Woman. So as always, there's the 9 criteria I got written down next to me in case you need a cheat sheet. So we have intelligence, fighting ability, strength, speed, durability, that's like your regenerative abilities, invulnerability, how resistant are you to taking overall damage, energy projection, what's your distance game like, versatility, what's your overall variation in power abilities, and then all important X factor, what is that last bizarre thing that's not covered in everything else. So while going with Rogue versus Power Girl, we'll start off first with intelligence. This will also be married with experience. Now, when it comes to Rogue's standpoint, she has spent a ton of time in teams, so she's got a ton of experience. From the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants to being a member of the X-Men, being a member of the Uncanny X-Men, the Extreme X-Men, so she's been a member of a lot of X teams. She's a lot of experience. Now, Power Girl, around the time of Infinite Crisis, began to remember everything from the pre-Crisis eras. So when it comes to her overall intelligence and experience, she remembers almost everything that happened pre-Crisis. So it's give her a huge experience edge. Like I mentioned before, when it was the when Power Girl had her Asgardian fight, she doesn't want to use her Karen Starr technical abilities. So it's just the Power Girl side. So she has all of that background and knowledge that almost encompasses pretty much all of comics up to the point of Infinite Crisis. Has an absolute ton of experience. So her experience and intelligence is actually going to tip past Rogue. So that's one right there when it comes to for Power Girl. Fighting ability. Power Girl's been trained by Wildcat, but I never ever recall her actually using all those additional skills. Where Rogue has spent a lot of time in training and has a decent amount of experience also when it comes from things like, she has the memories of Wolverine and other fantastic fighters. So she has those ingrained fighting skills. She's been trained by Wolverine. So I will give her the fighting ability edge. Okay, now we're down to strength. I will be honest, Rogue has a ton of different strengths to pull from. But she's taken on a Kryptonian who most people say is probably one of the stronger Kryptonians. So I'm going to go for the strength standpoint. I'm going to give this one to Power Girl. Now we're going to speed. Lots of speed on one side versus someone who again has a superhuman level of speed. That's going to put the speed ability definitely firmly in her favor. Okay, now we're on to the durability standpoint. Currently it is 3-1. When it comes to the regenerative abilities of both these two, one has basic Kryptonian regenerative abilities, where Rogue has got fantastic regeneration abilities. She essentially can call on the abilities from almost anybody else that she's touched. Which means if she were to get really hurt, she could probably try to drum up the combined abilities maybe Wolverine and Sabretooth. I'm using the version of Rogue that was from Extreme X-Men, where she had the ability to use multiple abilities at the same time and had a real wealth of things she could pull from. So I'm actually going to give her a slight edge in the durability standpoint. Okay, now we're down to invulnerability. How well can you take a beating? I'm actually going to give the edge in this one to Power Girl. Yeah, Rogue has great invulnerability, and she could call upon the powers of someone like Colossus if she wanted to really have even stronger invulnerability. But I'm going to give the natural invulnerability edge to Power Girl in this one. Rogue does have some invulnerability that she got from Miss Marvel, not on the same level as Miss Marvel, but I'd probably say she has better recuperative abilities than we see from Power Girl. Now we're down to energy projection. Rogue has the combined abilities of almost every mutant in the Marvel Universe. The exception of the ones that are pretty lame, like Maggot and ones like those. So, you've got the pretty standard, like Heat Vision, Frost Breath, versus almost everything that she can toss out. Versatility. Again, it's Rogue. You know, the amount of skills that she has access to, it's just off the charts. That's going to X Factor. Ironically, this is going to also go to Rogue. Just based on the amount of abilities she has access to. Now, let's say she were to take something like, I don't know, Cyclops' ability. Now, it's a concussive blast, but it's also red solar radiation. That's there for weaken or Kryptonian. Well, let's say she also had the powers of Dazzler. Dazzler, who had the ability to, if I remember correctly, it was to take sound and create light from it. Well, it'd be pretty easy to create a red-colored light, which would therefore be a form of solar radiation. You're probably thinking, yeah, where did the sound come from? Well, she could take the powers either Banshee or Siren. So it's off of those three ranged abilities alone. You know, Optic Blast, that is red solar radiation. The ability to scream and then harness that scream again into red solar radiation. So with just harnessing three different ability sets and not doing anything else, she can crush your Kryptonian. Now, if you want to take it to an entirely different standpoint, let's say she were to combine Emma Frost's Diamond ability as well as, oh, I don't know, let's say Colossus. So she could be literally organic metal and diamond at the same time, or an organic diamond blend. That would make her pretty impressive to take on. So, if Power Girl and Rogue were to face each other, and this is the Extreme X-Men, this is the slightly more amped up version of Rogue, Rogue would most definitely take a hard-fought victory over Power Girl.